My next guest has been with us for many years, Rethink Solutions President Mordechai Katzman. Hello, Mordechai, how are you?
Nice to see you, Jerry.
Good to
how
see
are you?
as well. So tell us a little bit about the themes you're seeing developing out of the show and what's happening with Rethink.
So let's start with Rethink, because there's a lot going on with Rethink. In the last 3 to 5 years alone, tremendous growth. And I think it's as a result of, the significance of property tax when you're looking at the overall expenses of a real estate company.
Yes.
And we're talking about any real estate, owners, occupiers, and managers of real estate. It's now becoming a very significant line item on their balance sheet as well as their income statement.
Sure.
So people are now realizing we need to do something about this.
And the laws have been going through some enormous changes, so you really need to track.
Especially in the US, there's over 17,000 different taxing and assessing jurisdictions. So there's a lot of data involved, a lot that people need to know when they're managing this process.
Now you have a specific solution for that.
Yes.
Itamlink?
That's our itamlink solution, exactly.
Tell us about
that. And that really manages sort of every facet of the entire property tax lifecycle. So everything from forecasting and budgeting what you think you're going to be paying, to managing the values, to determining what to appeal and managing the appeal process, and then ultimately verifying, approving, and paying your taxes. Again, one of the big risks is if you miss a payment or have you're lax on a due date, there's tremendous penalties too.
Sure.
So they get you from both ends.
Yeah, so tell me how your clients are leveraging your solution, some success stories perhaps.
Sure. So again, what's interesting about our business is property tax has been around for a very long time, and you still find a number of organizations trying to manage this process in Excel, or by hand, or outsourcing the entire thing.
Right.
So again, what we're finding is people, as it becomes more significant, and frankly, as property taxes are going up every year, and it was interesting, we just did a sort of a bit of a research study. Even when values are staying the same, taxes are still going up. So all the more reason to really pay close attention, mitigate, and make sure your values are where you think they should be, to be able to sort of coordinate and keep track of your taxes. So all of that is now important, and it's a matter of streamlining the whole process and really using data to your advantage so that you can analyze and determine where there are opportunities for savings, which properties you should be looking at, and not to jump too far ahead, but it really affects other aspects within the organization. So for example, if you're an owner and you're renting out your space, it's a factor in determining and setting your rents, because it's a big piece there. In some spaces, it's a matter of determining the recoveries, because you're charging people after the fact.
Right.
And it's not uncommon now, as even before an acquisition, to do a proper tax impact. Some companies are requiring it because it's so significant.
But wouldn't one need almost a full-time, employee to be managing the Rethink solution? I mean, because the amount, where within an organization is all of the data that needs to be plugged into your software kept?
So great question. It's all over.
Yeah.
So again, from a value and a tax perspective, that information is coming directly to the organization from those jurisdictions.
Yeah.
But you've got to tie in real estate information and all sorts of other values. For some companies, and I'm thinking of retailers that use our software, sometimes sales volume in a store is a metric. So they'll bump up their tax against the sales volume to see if it's within range or where it should be.
Sure.
So that information is coming from other systems, and we integrate with all the other systems.
I see. And is it being entered manually? Does it get coalesced somehow automatically?
So again, depends on where the data is coming from. So we actually have tools that are applying some artificial intelligence and NLP, so we can actually scan and recognize actual tax bills and assessment notices across all of these jurisdictions. It's a matter of scanning and loading them to the system, and the system by itself will figure out where it goes and load the data for you. There are various data aggregators out there where we have integrations with them too. And again, if you've got the information in other areas of the organization, whether it's coming into our software or leaving the software, you can automate those processes.
I see. And then once the reports and things are done, they're shown to an accountant and reconciled a little bit. And
the accountant or the asset manager, really depending on who's responsible. You asked earlier where within the organization. And that's always, it's interesting to see where it ends up falling, because we've seen the property tax people fall within tax, fall within asset management, accounting, even legal.
Yeah.
Depending on the organization, it can be anywhere.
Sure.
It just shows the number of hands that are actually involved in this process.
And tell me about some of the recent successes you've had with it.
So we recently signed a public organization, so a segment of the Canadian federal government.
Okay.
And for those that aren't aware, so government agencies typically won't pay a property tax. They'll pay a payment in lieu of tax. But the entire management process is the same. They want to be good citizens.
Sure.
They're going to pay the tax because it's for local improvements, and it's at a local level, so schools and roads and things like that. So they have their a modified process, but they're still tracking their values like anyone else. They can still appeal their values, and ultimately they're making payments. It's not a tax payment per se.
Yeah.
So that was a big win for us, and I think there's additional ground to cover sort of in the public sector as a result.
Fantastic. Who at this show could be using Rethink and could be using your solutions, but just doesn't know it yet?
Frankly, everyone. It's all owners, occupiers, and managers of real estate.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, we do have a lot of people here that are using it.
Sure.
And happy to see them. We're able to sort of reminisce and talk about some of their processes. But there's a number of companies that even approached us today, understand the importance of property tax, which we couldn't say 2 or 3 years ago. But again, because it's becoming a lot more visible now.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of interest. I think we're definitely on the upswing.
What would you say to the people who haven't really gotten to know you yet?
Pay attention to property taxes.
Yeah.
It's not like the other taxes. It's very controllable, and there's tremendous, tremendous savings that can be found there.
Yeah. Any last thoughts as we start to wrap up our day here?
Last thoughts. Again, I heard other speakers talk about it. It's all about the data.
Yeah.
You'll hear the expression garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
We're trying to help people maintain good, clean data as part of the overall property tax management process. And as a result, I think they're going to find, significant savings, efficiencies, and value. That's all about maximizing your portfolio value at the end of the day. What better way to do it than to minimize some of the expenses?
If you could look out from what you've seen so far today and pick a theme of Realcomm 2019.
Wow, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a combination. We've heard speakers talk about consolidation in the market. I think that will come. I still think it comes down to the data. All of the systems here rely on good data.
Yeah.
So, and that just, spreads front office, back office, it's all over the place. So that's the focus.
Fabulous. Mordechai, thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Pleasure. Mordechai Katzman from Rethink Solutions.